Hey, I am a Revision Geek and I want you to come and join my Revision Geek world. Welcome to the Diaries of a Revision Geek. I cannot wait for you to watch these interviews. They are so super fun. I've got qualified accountants together talking about their revision journeys, the highs, the lows, the struggles, and all the things in between about how other people got their plaque up on the wall and how they got qualified. I've picked qualified accountants in my LinkedIn network on purpose to help and support you guys, to inspire and motivate you if you are on your accounting journey. Feel free to like and subscribe below for more. Just click on the icons and I will keep you up to date with the Diaries of a Revision Geek. Let's get started. In today's interview, we have Richard. He is CIMA qualified. In Richard's journey, we talk about his determination and discipline, how he set a very clear goal for his CIMA qualification end date based on a big birthday, and how he didn't let anybody slow him down on his journey to get there. Enjoy this interview and let me know what you think. Welcome back to the Diaries of a Revision Geek. Oh, I'm really pleased to say Richard's joining us today. So hi, Richard, how are you?
Very good, thank you, Helen. How are you?
I am good, thank you. I'm excited to learn about your revision journey. I have no idea what Richard's revision journey is like. I know we've chatted on LinkedIn, but I'm excited about this one because it's brand new to me. So I can't wait to drill deep and ask some questions. So introduce yourself, Richard. Let us know a little bit about you.
Hi, I'm Richard. I studied CIMA. I've been in a management accountant role for about 3.5 years and done some assistant level accounting roles prior to that in different industries.
Great. So we've got another CIMA student with us, a CIMA qualified accountant with us today. I'm not biased at all, but yeah. Let's get straight into it. I'd love you to talk me through your journey.
Okay, so overall, I knew that CIMA would open a lot of doors for me. I'd always been more interested in the management accountant side of things and the strategic thinking rather than looking at the past and working with published accounts and things like that. I did a degree in management and business so that I had 2 certificate level exemptions. This was a few years after I did my degree, so I didn't jump straight into it like a lot of people do. And at that point, I was in a bit of a crossroads with my career, and I knew that I planned to go traveling in a few months. So I put myself through the 2 other certificate level exams, just teaching myself out of the textbook that I bought secondhand off someone I worked with. I thought it was quite important to have the certificate level under my belt because I knew that once I could come back from traveling and start looking for a job, I knew that that would stand me in good stead to then propel me into being into a position where I could study for the professional level, which I started, I think, in about summer of 2019. And from then I had a clear goal to finish studying by the time I was 30, which was about 2 years and 3 months to go. So it was a little bit of a quick time limit, I suppose, to put onto 12 exams. But I thought I can do this. I've got some good experience and insight into the different roles I'd done already. And I thought I just need to get my head down, and I took the approach of doing on-demand learning so I could fit it in with my other commitments, and just putting myself through 1 exam at a time so that I could just focus on one, get it done, move on to the next one rather than trying to take on too much at one time. And I achieved my CIMA qualification in October 2020. So all finished literally about a week before the 30th birthday. So goal achieved.
Oh, well done. Congratulations. I mean, so many questions I want to ask you now. So you did it in quite a short time period.
Yeah.
And why do you think that was? Was it because you set yourself that goal and you're just so super determined?
There was a lot of determination to it. I thought having it signed off by the time I was 30 just gave it a kind of nice feel. It was a nice way to round off your 20s. Although I don't think it's necessarily very important, I very much had it in my mind at the time that I was starting a few years later than a lot of people studying would have. So I think by mid to late 20s, a lot of people who are planning to study have studied. So I felt a little bit like I was maybe behind. And as I've got to the end, I've realised that that really doesn't matter. You know, people can start at any time and it's just as valid as anyone else's qualification. So I thought perhaps I've got a bit of catching up to do, but I think having a few extra years of doing assistant level roles before studying actually helped to kind of get that understanding and put stuff into practice. So then when I was reading over the theory, there was a lot of knowledge of stuff that I had that I probably would have been learning for the first time if I had done it a few years before. So determination, rounding off things quite nicely, and things just fell into place really.
Oh, that's good though. So, but for 2-ish years, you had a good CIMA journey for sure. Did you pass first time, or did you have any fails?
I did pass first time, all of them, but there were a few close calls. I think in particular P3, I think it was, is one of the nasty ones in CIMA, and I literally got the pass mark on that one, and I had to prepare quite a lot for that. So I was a bit shocked, but it doesn't matter because any pass mark is a pass.
For sure. Well done. Congratulations, first time passer. Yes.
Thank you.
It's not the be all and end all, absolutely. But if you've got it, then it's honestly a cherry on the top of the cake, I kind of say. And if you should absolutely shout about that if you want to for your career progression. So don't forget that.
Okay.
And it's okay to shout about it. First time passes is unique, honestly. So it's really good. So
absolutely. It kind of yeah, it's just something, it's more like a personal achievement. It doesn't mean that your qualification is different to anyone else's, but it's a nice reward for all the hard work that you put in.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it doesn't take away anyone's CIMA qualification, but it does show part of your personality and a skill set that some people like. Some people don't mind about it, you know. I didn't necessarily shout at the time that I failed loads, but if I had passed, like I've got a first class business studies degree, I shout about that all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I'd love to know some more little bit about, I call the exam journey an emotional roller coaster. So there's lots of highs and lows. So talk me through some of your highs and some of your lows.
I think the highs would have been, first of all, the overall doing it in just over 2 years, and every time you see that you've passed one exam, it's like, yeah, I worked hard for that. You know, that's rounded off. I can move straight to the next one, and I was always quite determined to perhaps give myself a couple of days off after a pass and jump straight into the next one, because once you're on that trail, I found it quite useful to just not stop. And I think with each one, you know that you're closer, so it gives you that drive to keep going, because any sort of break, you could have just perhaps, you know, become a little bit lazier with it, and it's just better to keep that train going. Passing each level was monumental, I think, because with CIMA you can call yourself part qualified once you've done the operational level, and that's after a few exams at professional level, so that gives you quite a good sense of accomplishment when you've still got most of the way to go. So that was really good. There were a few lows. I think COVID was the main disruption, because like with everyone and everything going on, we didn't know what was going to happen. But the one thing that I am very proud of with CIMA is that they were very quick to respond, and online on-demand exams were up within a couple of months of lockdown. So that was really good. So there was that initial uncertainty of how much do I study? When am I going to be able to take my exam next? And I think I'd just passed the operational level at that point. So I wanted to kick on. I wanted to get into management level. And it was a bit of uncertainty, but no more than a couple of months before you could sit the exam. So I just kept studying during the lockdown. I thought it won't hurt if I need to go back over it at a later date. That's no problem. But it was also another way to kind of keep your mind occupied, you know, away from what was going on outside.
Do you think, sorry to interrupt you, do you think COVID was a positive boost for you, as in the lockdown, having to stay at home, working from home piece? Did that support your CIMA journey?
Yes and no. I would say it gave you more time to be inside and study, but with all the uncertainty, and, you know, we all thought that lockdown was going to last a few weeks initially and everything like that, I think everyone was in this kind of craze about life wasn't feeling like real life. You know, it felt like we were handed a compulsory break from the outside world, and you could do all this stuff with this spare time that you suddenly had where you couldn't go out. But at the same time, with things being so uncertain and everything, it was really hard to concentrate on different things. And with not knowing when you could sit exams and having to wait for CIMA to update things on their end, it was quite tough to know what sort of time scales you were working with. So I think, as I was quite disciplined, I think it was probably useful for me, because I knew that I had all that time and I might as well do something very useful with it that I need to do anyway. So yeah, it did offer its opportunities, because at times, of course, I struggled with discipline just like anyone would, with the time you have to put into it. And I think the main other struggle would be when you fail certain practice questions and mock exams, especially on some of the harder papers. I think I was really struggling with the F papers, doing those through first intuition. And some of those I was doing a few days before my actual exam sitting and failing them by a fair margin. So I was thinking, well, maybe I'm not ready for this. But I always found that some questions were worded a lot more difficult than you might experience in the actual exam. And you just have to learn to not overthink things and not beat yourself up about it. So
in that period, the few days before the exam, when you were really not passing the mocks or the practice questions at a certain level that we would love to at that point in time, right, what made you carry on? Because a lot of people I know move their exam at that point. So what made you keep your exam and sit it?
I think I kept things quite structured in that, because of the amount of time I was personally working with, I was doing an exam roughly one every 2 months. And I know that's quite quick compared to what some people are able to do or feel comfortable doing. But I thought, I'm giving each exam the same amount of time, and I am putting enough time into it. And it's easy to feel like perhaps you're not, but I thought I have put enough time into it. I know that is the one thing that I would make sure I did by the time the exam day came. I think, okay, I'm satisfied with the amount of time and effort I've put into this. So if I passed, I pass. If I fail, I fail, and I try again, because you don't really know what's going to come up on the day. But I feel like some of the mock questions were very overly complicated, and you have to remember that when you're in that exam, you're doing 60 questions in 90 minutes. There isn't the time to have long, wordy questions. So, you know, in mock exams, they're going to be able to do really long-winded, made-up scenarios that they're not going to put in the CIMA official thing. They're going to just want to test that knowledge on that one specific thing. As long as you kind of stick to the basics and remember the key formulas, the key messages, I think that will carry you through.
That's a lovely tip. I'm glad you said that, because yeah, I talk about keywords, key formulas, key phrases all the time, because it is about that for sure. Yeah, sometimes the tuition providers are amazing, but sometimes they just had a little bit too much support in practice that is not real life, for sure, in real life exam conditions either. So did you talk me through your tuition providers that you used? Did you self-study, or did you use one all the way through?
So as I mentioned earlier, for the 2 certificate level ones I had to do, I just self-studied out of the Kaplan official book. But through my workplace, they use First Intuition for all of theirs. So I was with First Intuition the whole way through, and I did on-demands the whole way through. And I guess that kind of depends what works for different people, because some people might benefit more from being in a large group where people can ask questions live. Some people might study better in the classroom. I thought that probably wasn't the right sort of method for me, because it's convenient to be able to fit it in whenever you want within your day. And I think if you perhaps understand a certain topic, but there's other people in the group that don't, and then they're having to slow things down and ask a lot of questions, then that might slow down your journey towards that exam. So that's why I thought that on demand would be useful for me, so I can go over things that I don't understand as long as I want to.
You sound like you knew, as well as your goal, which I love that you had this before I'm 30 goal. You sound like you just comes across that you just knew what worked for you and you went along with that. That's how your exam journey had success. You know, your first time passes and 2 months in between exams and a 2-year journey, because you you knew your skills and you ran with that, right?
Yeah, that's right. I think it's good to kind of have what you need in mind and then go with it, because once you kind of start on that trail, you want to be able to just carry it through. And if you stay disciplined, you could actually do it a lot quicker than you probably realize you could.
And do you find any outside influences or LinkedIn or any people's advice or opinions would trigger you or knock you off track at all? Or
No, I don't think so. I think everyone who's in the studying world realizes that it is a hard thing to get through and it's a lengthy thing to get through, but you're all working towards that same goal. And we all know, some of the key benefits that it has. So I didn't really see, anything that would knock you. There are people that I would see on LinkedIn that are celebrating that they failed an exam because they know that perhaps they've only done it by a small margin and they feel that they're quite close. And I think everyone in the study world, when you ask for tips about people you work with who have done it already or people in your class or whatever, I think one thing I found, especially when I was doing like mock debrief sessions for the case studies, I think that everyone is very supportive and everyone kind of builds each other up when they kind of get better, and everyone tries to help each other out and give tips, which is quite nice to see. So we all know that we're trying to work towards the same thing, and it's good to get a lot of ideas out there and do that together.
Oh, that's good. I'm glad you sound like you've had positive experiences. I'm glad.
Yeah.
I talk about a revision plan a lot. I think it's the most important tool you need for revision. So did you use any planning? Did you have a revision plan, or was it more set out for your tuition provider?
I suppose it's a bit of both. So with First in Tuition, they give you all of the lectures broken down into decent sized chunks so they don't go into overboard. And I don't think any particular videos were longer than half an hour. So you could do as many or as little as you wanted if you had to spare hour and a half in the evening. And they would encourage you to, once you finish the chapter, do the mock questions for that chapter. I kind of just stormed through all of the lectures first off, because I knew that there might be some things I've seen before, some things I get and some things I don't. But I would have been tempted to go through it all first time and then do practice questions after going through it all first time. And that would have been so that I could see what I did understand and tick that off and be like, okay, I don't really need to worry about that. Maybe just a refresher towards the end, and realize what I don't understand or what was completely new to me, and think, okay, I need to go over the lectures once or twice more and really, focus on it and realize what we are talking about here and what I need to work on, and then start doing more and more practice questions, but always doing different ones so you're not remembering answers to anything that you've seen, because then you're not really understanding it necessarily.
Yes.
So it was structured in a good way, but also kind of going with, again, what worked for me, in that being able to just put to the side, okay, I understand that, this bit I don't, so let's work on that.
That's a good skill to have. Well done.
Thank you.
Okay, so the questions I'm asking everybody, what opportunities did you think would come from becoming a qualified accountant?
I think, well, one of the obvious things, I think you're more employable. You've got a higher skill set and a more demonstrated, higher level of thinking. CIMA is a globally recognized qualification, so it opens up that world of opportunity to go wherever you want and have a qualification that's going to be recognized. As you're more employable, higher salaries and everything can come with that, because your skill set's more in demand. And from having a higher education level, I guess you've just got that. No, you've got that removal of the ceiling. Really, it's really the sky's the limit, because you could go into so many different things. You could go down so many different avenues in so many different places and find what works for you and just really flourish wherever you want to go.
And you've definitely removed a ceiling, because you haven't. It's not a qualified ceiling. You've removed it because you've got it. So yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
And what has come so far, obviously you're newly qualified, but what's come so far since you've qualified and turned 30?
So the higher salary, because I think employers are very quick and open to realize that you are more employable, and it's a reward for passing those levels of your exams. And you know, as we are now, the job market, there's so many different opportunities out there because of what's been happening in the last 2 years. So if you've got a good skill set and you work hard and you've got that higher education level and everything, your employer will want to keep you. And if you did want to go down a different path, then people are willing to pay more for you because of what you can bring to the table. In my current role, there has been more opportunity to progress and provide analysis and insight at a higher level, because qualified accountant, you know, it's that sentence carries its weight in gold. You know, people are knowing what they're getting. They know that they've got someone who's been through a lot of exams, worked very, very hard to get that piece of paper that shows that they've got those skills and they've been able to put them into practice. And having the official validation of the skills through the study, I think, is a key thing as well. You know, it's a reward for your work and it raises your sense of worth and what you can bring into your workplace. So I'm very much at the beginning of the journey, but I know that, you know, for the future, there's a whole world of opportunity out there and it's quite exciting to have.
Yeah, God, I could tell you some of it. You know, I've been qualified for nearly 10 years, so I know how many rewards I've had already. But yeah, there's so much. It's very exciting. CIMA will give you many opportunities now as well, for sure.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, that's good. I'll have to catch up this time next year to see how your next year's gone, your newly qualified year.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so your last question. I love this question. I'm asking everybody this because I'm all about revision tips and I give revision tips nearly every day on LinkedIn. But what would be your number one tip for any qualifying accountants listening?
I would probably say to find what works for you early on in terms of study method, and then throughout your whole journey, don't forget why you started it, because it can be quite a long road. Like CIMA is probably, you know, typically 3 to 4 years. ACCA and everything else is probably quite similar. So over that length of time, it can be quite easy to forget why you started it, and it feels like it is a slog. And if there's certain papers that you're not enjoying so much, it can feel like you're trying to climb up a mountain. But just don't forget why you started, and always remember that, you know, it will be worth it at the end of it. And you'll be so glad that you did do it, because there's no time limit on that qualification. It never expires. You know, you'll be able to do so many different things that you won't even be able to think about right now. I mean, I still don't know how much I could go into, which is the beautiful thing, and it will always be worth it.
Oh, thank you for that tip. Yeah, I talk about your why all the time because it is hard to remember it while you're going through it as well, especially if it's a topic like P3. I'm sure you didn't remember why you were doing it then, but yeah, your why is so important and it keeps you motivated for the long term. You know, yeah, it took me 6 years to qualify, so I'd say 3 to 5 years for most accountants. You're unique, Richard. But yeah, your why, remembering your why keeps you truly motivated for the long haul, for sure. Yeah, thank you. It's been great to interview you. Welcome to the Revision Geek world, the qualified minority world. I say we're in the minority as qualified guys. So welcome, and thank you very much for being interviewed by me today. It's been great to have you.
Thank you very much for having me.
You're welcome.